What I said was that for NCCE, at the beginning of every project like this, we undertake what we call a baseline survey. What the baseline survey is supposed to do, or what it does, is to give us a firm basis for the intervention that we're doing. So for instance, instead of just going for this project into the communities and start talking to them, it's better for you to know what the deficit is. What is it that they know already? What ideas do they have about the subject matter? How would they take the intervention? What sort of interventions work best for them? So the baseline survey will establish all of these so that when it comes to deployment, then you have these things that you can do that you know that it will go down well with the people, because they themselves have told you the best way to get the information across to them. Don't forget that for this particular project, it goes beyond just giving information. It's about letting people understand the nature of the threat, how to identify it. If you see something, say something. If you see what do you really see? You see things all around. Should you say something when you see this flower pot? How do you differentiate what is a real threat from what is just sitting there? Because the person who is going to bring the threat will not bring a bag that says this is a bomb and put it down. You must have a way of identifying what you need to do to it. And then if you even identify something, who do you go and tell? When do you go and tell the person? How do you know that you'll be secure after speaking to somebody? So all these things, we need to build the people in communities so that they have this knowledge. If somebody new comes into your community, nobody is saying that you should not welcome people. But how do you ensure that they are not people who have come into your community to do harm? How do you find a way to interview them, to understand their background, to know where they're coming from, to be able to, find out a few things about them, to give yourself the assurance that the people who have come to stay in your community are not coming to do you harm. So that is the basis for the baseline study. We collect all this data, all this information, and then based on that, we build a series of interventions and activities that will deliver the impact that we are looking for. As of now, I think maximum by the end of March, but probably before. Probably because we are busy doing the analysis and writing it as we speak. We finished the data collection. The field work was completed, I think 2 weeks ago or earlier. We're done with that. So it's just the processing the data, doing the analysis and writing reports. And as soon as it's ready, it will be launched, because we ourselves, we need it to be able to do the work that we are going to do. Well, I think everybody knows that saying about when your neighbor's beard is on fire. As we sit here, literally, our neighbor's beard is on fire. I mean that in the literal sense of the word, because the place, it is on fire, So it's just a matter of preparing yourself. Preparation helps you to deal with eventualities. You must be prepared. And so it's the preparation that we want to ensure that, because you see, the thing about the situation we are facing is that these people who are coming to do you harm are not going to march into your community with a big gun and create a ruckus. No, they understand, as we do in NCCE, that the battle is actually for the hearts and minds of people, and so they come for that, and that is the place that we are meeting them at. They come, they radicalize young people. They start with gifts. They start with some services for the community and this and that. The next thing you know, they form clubs of young people. The next thing you know, they're teaching them and training them on one thing or the other. The next thing you know, your own young people in your community have turned against you. So these are not people who are just coming to make a big work. So it's important that we have proper understanding and be grounded in the work that we're doing.
Approach into a buying baby, full society baby, religious leaders baby, yes, we are part tonight, the issues number out. Okapo, a role to play in bringing out these issues to light, and to be a role to play. And see, so be who the lethality of these small arms and life weapons. Now, to me, by now, to me, reporting so regulating in the system so that I'm behind that. Or there be, say, a buying so 18 me. making sure say laws now on small arms so review no. For instance, no, currently no, the law does not allow for the local manufacture of small arms. So you say small arms no manufacture pan with Roma say so. Into so much review law no say if there's a manufacturing capacity regulating because we cannot behave like an ostrich na be it two of us so the airport so into abandon so say also 18 years been or regulated small arms proliferation. There are about 2.3 million arms in circulation now, and with the terrorist threats in the region, the West African sub-region, it's quite worrying that if people get access to these arms, they can use them to inflict pain, fear and panic in society. So it's important that we do all we can to regulate and retrieve these arms. And some of the reasons why people get these arms is to protect themselves, is to protect their property and their families. And so if the state is seen as not being able to protect them, then they have the recourse to these arms. So we must also ensure that we have other opportunities, particularly for the youth who are really a vulnerable group for recruiting into violent extremist networks, so that they get some kind of livelihood support and they are not easily lured into violent extremist activities. All right, so I stated that in 2004, the survey revealed that there were about 240,000 small arms and light weapons in circulation. And then in 2014, the number had risen to 2.3 million. And so you see there's an exponential rise of small arms and light weapons in circulation now. And going forward next year, if we do the small arms survey, we can then guess that the number of arms in circulation is going to be really, really a lot. And we must redouble all our efforts to ensure that we regulate these weapons of mass destruction in slow motion. All right, so to ensure that we are able to retrieve these arms, I think I should also mention that government amnesties are very important. They have been done, some that have been done in the past, that sort to let people that have these arms, bring them in and then come and register them. And so those have helped to bring some of these arms from circulation, and then some of them were also destroyed. And it's also important that people know the destructive effects of these weapons. And so if they have one or they know somebody who has one, they should be able to tell the person to either go and regulate it, because the laws can't permit you to have own a gun, but it must be regulated, and so you should have it regulated. Then also the laws must be amended. The current Arms and Ammunition Act must be amended to reflect the current realities, such as the Wash Convention provisions.
I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland, and it carries a lot. Whether this has been internalized to be expressed in the way that we relate is something now too also. There are other songs that for me also are intended to promote national cohesion. For example, I cannot sing all, the first part of it, Omani Yememan. This nation or this land is my land. Or Hen Ara Yassassin. It carries a certain message. In fact, we together lay claim to the land we call Ghana, as expressed in the national anthem. God bless our homeland, Ghana. So, in other words, we agree that in spite of the multiplicity of our identities and religious diversity, there is an overarching identity that brings us together. That should form the basis and the foundation of our sense of national cohesion. The sense that we all belong. The sense that we all belong. The sense that we all share an entitlement to the ownership of this land. The sense that we owe to ourselves to protect this land, and so on and so forth. So, in some of the reasons that I did, national cohesion, what are the indicators? First, there must be a common vision and a sense of belonging. 2, peaceful coexistence among all members regardless of differences, which will be one of the things that I'll quickly rush through. Appreciation and value for people of diverse backgrounds and circumstances. Similar and equal life opportunities for those of different backgrounds. strong and positive relationship developed between and among people of diverse identities, affiliations, and interests. What has been the challenge to our national cohesion? Divisive politics. It is clear to us. I think it would be hypocritical if we say as a nation we are united. I will sound very hypocritical. I mean, the political polarization in our country is clear and it's so something that is so glaring to our side. Sometimes our divisive politics of exclusion is one of those that is undermining national cohesion. Currently, we have all been worried about what we call this politics of the winner takes all. And so therefore, once you are not part of the governing party, you lose everything. And the Asantis, those of you who are Akans, you have been telling us that so when you are all the time the food, you are all eating, and I'm looking at you. The resentment, gets deeper and deeper, and waiting for only something small to spark it. Yeah. So these are the challenges. The culture of greed and selfishness, negative ethnicity. I'm using a qualified in negative ethnicity. Ethnicity can be very positive, and it's a good thing. That's how God made us. But negative ethnicity is where you see yourself superior to other ethnic groups and to put them at a disadvantage or to marginalize. Claim of communities to be superior and to treat others inferior. The weakening of the family system. These are challenges that have undermined our efforts to attain national cohesion. So national cohesion, in my view, still remains something, a wish, a vision that we hope to achieve. But in reality, the reality of our lives is clear that our country is socially not cohesive. And so therefore the need for us to continue working on it. And that's why for me, the issue of the coexistence. Coexistence assumes multiplicity of cultures, diverse religions, and of people who live in the same space and time. So the indications here is that for you to say that we are coexisting peacefully, we must exist together in the same time, in the same space. It's also exist in the mutual tolerance of each other. Learn to recognize and live with differences. Create a relationship of persons and groups in which no party aims or attempts at destroying the other. Reduce to the barest essentials. It means there are about 4 things that we must be talking about in this. 1, tolerance, mutual respect, agreement to settle differences through non-violent means or without recourse to violence.